I'm Larry Menti. Welcome back to Another Thing. We continue our conversation now on the way NCAA athletes are treated and whether they should be allowed to unionize. We continue that discussion now with Gary Waters, who is a legend in New Jersey and throughout college basketball. He is the Princeton Athletic Director Emeritus. He was the youngest athletic director ever for the NCAAs in the country, played at Princeton, went to the Final Four, and he was also the former chair of the selection committee for basketball for the NCAAs. So we're very honored to have you here, sir, to join this conversation. Unionizing NCAA athletes, a good idea or a bad idea?
It's a complicated idea, in my opinion, Larry. And on the one hand, I understand the passion that the student athletes themselves have for being treated fairly. And given the amount of money that's being made at the 5 major conferences, I believe those athletes have a strong case for some kind of remuneration, okay? One could even call it pay for play. I mean, of course, the irony is that one of the reasons that the concept of student athlete was created by the NCAA was to protect its amateur status, so that the organization itself would be treated in such a way that it wasn't viewed as a profit center, thus exposing itself to federal taxes.
And yet they've become a profit center. They've made almost $1 billion.
Exactly. So they've been very successful historically in advancing the notion of the student athlete in order to protect the self-interests of those people who are the members, okay? But as the TV contracts have grown larger, as the benefits have grown larger, if you look at just the amount of attendance at the 5 big dog conferences, it actually is almost equal to the amount of attendance at NBA games. Which is, yes, exactly. Yeah. So now when you look at it that way, and then you look at the amount of money that all the administrators, all of the coaches, and the universities are making as a result of, in particular, the revenue sports, football and basketball, it's understandable now, with coaches having multi-million-dollar contracts being the norm, that the athletes would like a piece of that pie.
Well, you know what? You bring up the piece of the pie, and I know that the money is talked about a lot, but it's more than money. It's much more than money. They're asking for a promised education, which the NCAA uses as their argument all the time. Wait a second, we're giving them an education. We're allowing them a diploma to go out and do something else. They'll take that away in most cases if these kids get hurt. Isn't that the case?
Well, in certain cases, yeah, in certain cases that is the case. Now, one has to understand that where you stand on these issues is often determined by where you sit. And of course, sitting in this chair in New Jersey and representing Princeton University and the Ivy League for all those years, I have probably a slightly different take, and maybe a purer take on what the amateur ideal is and should be. But what's really happened is there is no balance as it relates to student and athlete on either side of the hyphen. We have evolved from a standpoint where you had student athlete, capital letters, in both cases, where we've now evolved to the point where the student has been minimized and the athlete is all in caps. Consequently, not only do we have the threat of unionization initiated at Northwestern, but now we also have those students at North Carolina who are also suing the NCAA for academic fraud because they feel they were denied an education.
We're running out of time. What if you were head of the NCAA or on the board, what should they do at this point? Because this is a tide that's rising.
Yeah. Well, what's happened is we've had the free market system at work, and as a result of that, you've had this expansion of conferences over multiple regions now. That means that, for example, if you're in the Big Ten and you look at the breadth of the Big Ten from Rutgers in Maryland all the way out to Nebraska, we're talking about flying across the country in order to compete. So whereas before competition was regional, what that in effect does is it brings in more TV money, but at the expense of these kids going to school. So for me, that's totally counter to the responsibility, the obligation, in fact, the promise to provide an education, because these people now mid-week have to travel. So when are they ever in class?
So should they be promised, and I know what you're getting at, and it's not doesn't exactly address the point, but should they be promised the opportunity at a diploma and not just a scholarship, a multi-year scholarship?
I believe they certainly should be promised certainly more than they're currently getting, and furthermore, they're being denied the opportunity, which is why I would expect that they go to college, to also rub elbows with diverse people from diverse backgrounds with diverse interests, thus inhibiting their education as well.
I understand that. I understand your point that it's not just a diploma; it's actually getting into class,
yes,
and have the opportunity to get an education,
right,
and that's got to be important as well. I don't even think that's being addressed, but that's a fascinating,
exactly right,
fascinating argument, sir. I really
Thank
appreciate you coming in today and your perspective.
Appreciate it, Larry. Thank you.
Gary Waters, the Princeton Athletic Director Emeritus. When we come back, Dawn talks with Bill Elliott, a Jersey man who inspires us all to be heroes just like his son.